The discovery of the self. The first step to true wellness. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a young man, Alexander, who had the feeling that something was missing in his life. Despite his success in his professional life, the esteem he enjoyed from those around him, and his financial comfort, he felt a sense of emptiness inside. His days were full of activities and obligations, but at night, before he went to sleep, the same thought plagued him. What does it really mean to live happily ever after? Seeking answers and understanding that something deeper was missing from his life, he decided to make a big decision. He left behind the daily routine of the village and traveled to a secluded monastery, known for the wisdom of its monks and their spiritual teachings. He knew he had to seek peace and inner tranquility in a place away from the hustle and bustle of the world. After arriving at the monastery, he was greeted by an elderly monk, Paul, who led him to his cell. There, Alexander asked Paul how he could find his true happiness and peace. The path to inner well-being is not so simple, but it begins with a sincere search for yourself, Paul told him. Paul looked at him kindly and said, "Happiness and peace are not outside of us, but within us. You must begin by discovering who you really are, what you want, and what you deserve. Only then can you find true well-being." At first, Alexander was confused. It was difficult to understand how he could find this inner truth and how to apply it to his life. Paul advised him to start with self-awareness, to observe himself and his feelings with an open mind, without judgment. "That's the first step," Paul told him. As he walked in the quiet of the monastery, he thought for the first time about the things that had been worrying and oppressing him in recent years, the expectations of others, the social demands, the stress of always being successful and accepted. All of these things had distanced him from his true self. There, in the solitude of nature, he realized that true happiness does not come from comparing himself to others or from fulfilling external expectations. It was something deeper, something that came from living authentically and according to one's values. He saw that to reach true well-being, he had to recognize and accept himself for what he was, his weaknesses, his potential, his failures, and his victories. After days of introspection and quiet, he discussed his experience with Paul. She told him that he now felt calmer and more aware, but wondered if that was enough to achieve lasting well-being. Paul responded with a story that made him think more deeply. There was once a river that flowed swiftly and noisily. Everyone believed that the power of the river was what made it special, yet they had never seen its source. If they followed the river back, they would have found a small, calm spring that gave life to its entire flow. This spring was the heart of the river. The same is true of your life. True wellness starts from your inner source, from connecting with yourself. When you find it, then everything you do and everything you offer to the world around you will be full of meaning and peace. Alexander understood. True well-being is not something that is earned through success or external means. It is something we discover within ourselves through self-awareness and acceptance of ourselves. When we live authentically, happiness and peace follow naturally. Alexander's experience at the monastery changed him profoundly. He returned to his village with a new understanding of life and the importance of self-awareness. Now, he knew that true wellness begins when we understand ourselves, love our weaknesses, and accept our path, with all the weight and sweetness it can bring. This journey of Alexander's was the first step towards lasting well-being and true inner peace. He realized that in order to live with authenticity and joy, he must first accept his own reality and live according to his deepest inner self, without fear and doubt. And that was the true path to happiness, the lesson of history. True wellness begins with self-awareness. When we understand and accept ourselves, then we can find the inner peace and happiness we seek. The first step to living with full contentment is to know ourselves deeply and accept the course of our lives with all its joys and difficulties.